Somebody save me, save me. I'm losing every battle. Somebody save me, save me. I'm losing every battle.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to today's podcast. I hope you guys enjoy today's episode. Today's episode, I'm actually going to be talking to a fantastic woman she's actually a first-time author, but she has so much to say in her book. She shares so much of her pain, the grief, the triumphs that she went through after losing her own mother to terminal cancer. So I really wanted to talk to Neila about her new book, which is called The Seeker of Light. So I really highly recommend it. I will have a link below so you guys can actually get this book yourself. And it's a book that I highly recommend anyone to read, no matter where you are on your journey. You guys all know that, I went through my own breast cancer journey, and I could resonate so much. Not only because she lost her own mother, it's very similar to my mother's story that I lost also for cancer, but it was also what she went through, what she did, how she picked herself up, the good, the highs, the lows, and everything in between. So on that note, I'd like to welcome Neila. So thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Grace, for inviting me. I really feel privileged to be here. And as you know, I wrote the book in 2019. It was published in October. But honestly, I was so depleted emotionally, mentally, and physically from reliving over and over my journey, I guess, that I crashed. And then COVID hit in 2020. So I haven't really marketed the book or done much more with it apart from put it out into the universe. So I'm grateful to be here.
No, and as I said, I actually, when the book was given to me, I remember saying, to Hamish, I remember saying, as soon as I start reading it, it's going to be hard for me to put down. But little did I know that when I started reading it, I would have to have a sticky note pad, because every cup, and this is one thing I wanted to touch on are some similarities first,
Yeah.
but actually before I do that, I wanted to sort of ask you, so before you started on your spiritual journey, what did you wish you would have known on your spiritual journey before that? So what would you wish you have known?
I guess I wish I could have known how difficult it was going to be. I guess part of me thought that the spiritual journey was going to be rainbows and fairies and
Mm,
it was all just going to be glorious, but it actually was so difficult, and it still is, but so beautiful and magical at the same time. What I discovered was it took courage for me to hold up the mirror and look at myself,
mm,
because nothing in my life was ever going to change if I didn't change me. So it took for me to look at everything in my life. It wasn't even just my mother's passing away. I felt that at that time of her death, everything in my life turned up for me to confront it and deal with it and heal it. So
mm,
I was just like, I think they call it the dark night of the soul, where,
mhm.
you really are. I spent so many nights in tears. So I guess if I'd known how difficult it was going to be, I still would have gone on that path, but I could have probably been kinder to myself. I felt that I resisted a lot of the confrontation of, things I needed to heal. And eventually I surrendered, but I guess I just was fighting it more than just saying, you know what, I just need to surrender. I need to feel what I'm feeling. I need to take the learning from this, and then I need just to move forward with it. So yeah, I took the long road as opposed to the easy road.
Well, the thing is, sometimes a long road is better for us because the easy
Yeah,
road is short. It's good for a short term. So
yeah,
sometimes that's why we need to find, and I speak about that a lot, where I mention to people, when you actually are on on a road, any road, even if you look at it like it's a metaphor, of course, but you could get a detour this way, or this road's blocked, or this road's got a pothole. You always have to detour which way you're going. So
Yeah,
that's
I agree
life.
with that, Grace. And I felt that, it didn't matter which road I took ultimately, because it was just meant for me, whatever path I did take.
Mm,
But now, with everything I've learned since then, I trust my intuition much more quicker,
yeah.
because I think, you know what, this is what's happening. This is what I need to do. It's going to be okay. This is just another dark night of the soul. We've been through this before.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. The first thing I wanted to touch on, which was seriously gives me goosebumps. Now, if I say to you the date, 18th of November, 2013,
hmm
that's the
Yep.
day my mother passed away. And
Yep.
you wrote the 19th of November, 2017. And I
Correct.
had to go back in my mind. I actually had to go back and say, hang on a minute. I had to go back and look. I'm thinking, I know I didn't get my mum's date wrong, but it was a day, literally a day
A
later,
day.
4
Yeah.
years, a day and
Yeah.
4 years. And I thought, what are the chances of meeting someone who's gone through a similar journey with their mother, their own mother? You know, the second one I wanted to talk about was where your mother passed away. If you wanted to
Mhm.
mention where your mother passed away.
She
Actually,
passed
I'll ask.
away. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Go for it. No,
No,
you
no,
go.
go. So it's two questions in one. Where did she pass away? And while she was there, what did she look at? So, oh yeah. So while she was in there, what did she admire from the garden? So you tell me those two things.
Oh, so she passed away in Brisbane at the St. Vincent's Hospital Palliative Care,
Mhm.
and in the garden it was the Lady of Lourdes, so Virgin Mary, and that's what she admired. And she admired the garden, the lizards that were there, the sun shining on her face, and yeah, I just recall that memory because it was the last time she ever got to go outside that hospital.
But she also liked a particular flower. Do you want to mention the flower?
Oh, the rose. Yeah, yeah. She loved the roses. And there was a Portuguese lady who worked at the hospital, as you would know, Grace, that
Mm-hmm.
actually brought her a rose from her own garden and put it on my mum's windowsill in the
Mm,
hospital. And I just loved that a stranger, a cleaner at the hospital, she was Portuguese, so they had a commonality, but took the care to bring my mum that rose. And she loved it and would just stare at it.
absolutely. And the reason I bring that up is because my mother also died in palliative care. And
Yeah.
outside my mother's window was a bunch of roses, was a rose bush.
Wow.
She would stare at it every day. And the moment that Rose died, we knew we were going to lose mum that day. So I just thought
Yeah.
again, what are the chances of the similarities? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But this is why I wanted to bring you on, because it's not just the similarities of our mothers. As I said, it's just, and the other thing which freaked me out was you look like her, I look like my mother.
Yeah, it was
So
crazy.
this is what mum looked like, probably hair a little
And
bit
this is what
longer.
my mum looked like without the headset.
Yeah, actually, my mum did have short hair, but not as short as me, and without the headset. That's right. That's right. And so yeah, so but it wasn't just the similarities. It was the fact that we both found a spiritual journey from that moment. So I'll go into my
Yeah.
next question is, what were your unique skills that helped you become successful on your spiritual journey?
My unique skills, I was thinking about this. I truly believe I have a very acute awareness of what's happening around me, not in terms of people and movement. It's more like I'll notice a tiny little insect on a leaf that's so minute, but I can see it and I admire it. I also learned to trust my intuition, and with those two things put together, it allowed me to experience synchronicities in my life, which a lot of people may call coincidences. I don't believe in coincidences. So these synchronicities for me were really the universe leaving the breadcrumbs as a trail for me to follow. And I could see what was happening in my life, even if it was just a rainbow. I would know instantly that's my mum, or, it's something really special in my life, something magical is going to happen. And
Mm.
because I have 100% trust in what's shown to me, I just follow it. And so it's that keen awareness, to see things outside I guess, our direct surroundings. I think even in the book, Grace, I had written about when I was sitting there in the office. It's a busy office. Everyone's typing away, and I could hear a noise. It was very subtle, but I heard it. And when I looked up, I saw the butterfly fluttering against the glass door, trying to
Mm.
get out into the courtyard, but people were walking past her. And I thought, everyone, you could see her. Well, I could see her, but no one stopped to help her out. So I
Mm.
got up from my desk, picked her up with the palms of my hand, opened the door and let her outside. It's those type of things that I'm really aware of.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing too, because it's like all of a sudden when you're changing your life, like similar to mine, you start realizing, uh, we all know death is inevitable. We all know that. And here we are in a situation where we've got mothers in our cases who are going through this journey. And what it does is once it happens, it just allows us to see things from a different perspective. I don't know if it happened to you, Nella, but for me, it was like I took a step back and saw the big picture of life,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Earth, Mother Earth, my
Yep.
surroundings, my everything around me was like not amplified, but amplified because all of
I
a sudden, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I was going to say I
Mm,
love that word, amplification, because
mm,
I remember when I flew from Melbourne to Perth to see her when I had first heard of her diagnosis, everything, not only just there when I was with her, but everything in my life. And I started to question, well, what's the purpose of anything? Apart
mm.
from where I started to see value and meaning was in nature, was in all those beautiful things. But in terms of everything else, materialistic things, I just thought, what's the point of it all?
Absolutely. And that's what it does. What we did is we both went on this spiritual journey where we tried to look from the inside out,
Yeah.
try to understand everything's trying to understand from what happened, why it happened, why it's part of life, and how can I learn from this to better my life? Because the thing is, neither one of us tried to be the saviors. We couldn't. Here we are with mothers who were terminally ill.
Yeah.
Mine was with endometrial cancer and breast cancer.
Yeah.
And what it is you don't look at it that way, but it's like, okay, going forward, it's like they give you a gift. If
Mm.
it's like they go, well, and I know this sounds horrible, but it's not, of course, they don't mean to die so we can get the gift, but it's like they needed to move on so we can actually find what was truly inside because they were protecting us in a way. The way I said with
Yeah.
my mother, it's like she was protecting me, but she knew I had something more. She could see it. And that's why the moment she stepped away, like yourself, you start questioning your own life.
Yeah, I love that too, because that's exactly how I felt. I was always her baby, and I'm starting to feel a bit teary because your words really resonate with
Mm,
me. I was always her baby, and it was really frustrating for me growing up because I just wanted to prove to her that I was mature enough to do all these things. So we were always headbutting against each
mm,
other. But I've always said that the greatest gift my mother left me when she left this earth was definitely the path that I was put in front of me, and I decided with my own free will that I was going to journey along that path, because obviously you don't have to. There's many ways I could have gone, but that's the most beautiful path I've ever been on. It's hard, but it's so worth it.
And on that, let me ask you, what are the resources that helped you to get on through that journey? What did you first start doing to start you on your own spiritual journey?
Well, interestingly, just before my mother's diagnosis, I met a lovely lady who I work with, Suzanne, and she basically introduced me to the simplest form of, I guess, meditation. It's mindfulness.
Mm,
So I only really experienced mindfulness. I did a little bit of sound healing, but it was truly through the people I met in my life who I believe came into my life at the right timing in preparation for what was yet to come in for me and what was going to happen with my mum. Because without that, even the simplest meditations and mindfulness and sound meditation, I just don't know what I would have done, Grace. It was just so wonderful. I remember one time I went with my friend Suzanne to a sound healing here in Melbourne, and I remember I had to switch off my phone, and I was so afraid because I knew Mum was in palliative care, and I thought, what if I get a call at this time? And I did the sound meditation. It was an hour, and when I got out of it, lo and behold, yes, there was a message from my sister to say Mum had taken a turn for the worst. But because I had that meditation, I was able to be grounded and take the news. Otherwise, I think I would have just lost control emotionally, because who knows what to do? You just don't know.
No, that's exactly right. Like you're saying, because the thing is, whether you're watching it from the point of view from where you were, or whether you're in it yourself, you need to be able to control the mindset. Because
Yeah,
because we both know that if you allow, it'll be chaos. So you
yeah,
need to calm everything down so you can better look at the situation, you can better look at what's happening from a better perspective. Because like you said, had you not done it, had it interrupted your sound healing, you would have probably caused panic, pain, more resentment, grief, like, oh no, what have I done? Instead, it allowed you to calm the mind and, okay, now you see the message, now I can react. Because your
yeah,
mind would have
agree.
been, yeah,
My
talking.
brain, and I saw that with my two daughters. So my eldest daughter, I remember breaking the news to her about her nana, and both the girls suspected something was wrong because I hadn't heard from her for a while. Because literally, from the moment she was diagnosed with terminal cancer, she stopped communicating with everyone,
Mm.
even her own grandkids, because she could not face that. But I remember telling my eldest daughter, and she just broke down, and I could see how her mind was, and she was just shooting off all these questions. It was like a true crisis. But because I had some experience already with meditation and continued it along that journey, it helped me to have that clarity to help others around me, like my daughters. And in turn, I had my sister who'd already been on the spiritual path for over 20 years. So it was just, so I guess the resources are truly, I guess, tools and strategies that can help you quiet your mind to get that clarity, but also
Mhm.
people around you that can support you. And sometimes you need to have your cry and be able to do that as well, not always being the one that has to be strong for others.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just on that with your mum, like, because that's something that I talk to with a lot of people going through cancer, is why do you think your mum, or I'm not sure if she ever spoke about it, but why do you think your mum shut every communication down when she got diagnosed?
Oh, I know, because my whole life she has always expressed a fear, like a real massive fear against cancer. It was like the C word was the worst thing. So in 2015, she'd originally been diagnosed with a cancer of her stomach. They did a full hysterectomy, and then she was cancer-free for 2 years till she got diagnosed with a secondary cancer, which was terminal. But for her, it was, I don't know, it almost felt like she was ashamed that this has happened to her, that she has done something wrong for her to be diagnosed with terminal cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And while she didn't say it, we knew her very well, that we knew it was partly that. So she just really shut all her doors, didn't answer the doors for any of her friends. She wouldn't watch television because just even seeing people living life was very hurtful to her. And the only thing she really engaged in was obviously her family. And also she allowed me and my sister to put headphones on, and she would start listening to meditation. And that was the first time in her whole life she ever listened to meditation. And she loved it, and it helped her go to sleep because her mind, and with the medication, it just quietened her mind. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And that is so profound, because that's the thing it is, when I ask the question out there, what's the number one fear, uh, and I'm one of those people. So the number one fear was, what's the one fear that you do when you get diagnosed? And it's
Yeah.
common: death.
Yeah.
But then I asked the question, what was it? Death, why? If it's death, why? And believe it or not, 50% said because I didn't get to live the life I wanted to live. And the other
Mm,
one was because of my family. And that's
yes.
exactly like you said, because now all of a sudden it's like, well, hang on, I'm going to leave my kids behind. I'm the mother. I'm supposed to be strong. I'm supposed to be here. Now what? And that is the fear of the unknown is
Yeah,
what.
it's interesting because when I asked her in palliative care, I was so heartbroken and I was trying to be brave for her. But then I said to her, please don't be afraid, Mum. And she looked at me straight in the eyes and she just said, I'm not afraid, Nella. She
Mm,
said, I've lived a wonderful life. I couldn't have
beautiful.
asked for more in my life. And but she said to my eldest daughter when she was there alone with her nana at the hospital, she admitted that she was afraid for us, the family, and the pain that we would be left with, because she said to me she's accepted that she was going to die and she knows that Mother Mary was going to wait for her because she just loved the
Yeah.
lady, especially the lady of Fatima because she's Portuguese and all of
Mhm.
that stuff. But yeah, so I think it was the worry what's going to happen to all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the main concern that they have. I remember also my mum, even in palliative care, she was inadamant to make sure that we had the BRCA1 and BRCA2 test done. And
Yes.
my mum, by that stage, her veins were so small, they were so closed off almost, that they had to use a small butterfly injection to
Wow.
get the blood out. But she was inanimate, that to the point where mum passed away before the results came back. But she didn't want to see her family suffering. And I
Mm.
get it exactly the same. And that's why, this book is just been, as I said, I've got so many things that I could talk to you about. But what I wanted to ask you is, so how did you begin with this? Oh, no, actually, before I do that, I want to go back to another one, because your spiritual journey led you to become a shaman. So just explain to people what a shaman is, like debunk it. You know what I mean? Like, because a lot of people, when they're hearing us talk about spiritual journeys, they think like it's some woo-woo that we're sitting out, I don't know, sunbathing under the sun and we're getting all these messages. I don't know. So just explain a little bit about that to the
Look, yeah, I was the same. I didn't know what a shaman was until I started on my journey. And yeah, I could just imagine a old man with a peace pipe blowing smoke. And I kind of thought, well, had no idea, but I guess it is just a medicine man or woman, a healer, using different tools just to help heal people. I'm still studying the shamanism, so I haven't quite finished yet, but what I learned, what was debunked for me was, all these preconceptions that everyone has, or people have an expectation of what a shaman should be and where you should study it and where you should go. Because like I wrote in the book, I had always had a dream to go to Peru.
Mm.
And unfortunately, I didn't have that opportunity yet, and COVID's here anyway, so that's not going to happen just anytime soon. But I was trying to look at ways where I could learn shamanism that was financially affordable, but I was going to gain the skills, the capacity to do all these things, firstly to help myself, and then perhaps one day to help others. So that's why I decided to go down that track. And then when I was starting to study all of the shamanism and other healing modalities, I started feeling pressured from people around me. Well, what are you going to do with those skills? What are you going to do? Here you are, you're in the corporate world, but what are you going to do with these, Reiki? What are you going to do with shamanism? And I started to feel pressure that, oh my gosh, perhaps I need to go hire a place and do some healing circles. And I thought, well, that's not me. It's not what I didn't have any passion to do that. And then I realized that it didn't matter what I did in life because I'm always going to be helping others around me. So it's like that, what they say, you shine your light. So even when I'm out in the office, I have skills that I can use in my job that can help people communicate better or resolve conflicts or, just build connections, build rapport with your colleagues.
Mm.
It's and I have certainly used it in my workplace, and I've seen a change in the way I manage my team as well as integrate with all my peers. So I guess, debunking what it actually means. It really just only matters what you want it to mean.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I just wanted to learn, how do I heal myself?
Yeah.
And also go to shamans for healing, which I've done as well. So yeah.
But it's just so interesting because, again, that's another thing. Again, like, our viewers or our listeners don't actually know, but we've only known each other for, I couldn't even say 6 months
No.
yet. I've actually gone to Peru and done work with the shamans, as you know. So it's quite, again, and in the book where you say about the tapestry, and I'm like, the tapestry is something that's ingrained into my blood
And
now,
just for the just for the listeners, that tapestry was when I went to the Mind Body Spirit here at Convention Centre. Had no idea what a shaman was, but came across a beautiful little stall, and I saw this tapestry with all the colours, and I just loved the colours, and I had to buy it. I just had this urge. This is for
Mm.
me. And I remember, when I handed over the money exchange to the man at the stall, and he said, you know what, the shamans made this. And I said, oh. And I walked away thinking, oh, I wonder what a shaman is. But that was the day that was the day that my mother actually passed away as well. And I
Wow.
was with my best friend. So I had known that morning that was going to be the day that I would be at this convention center with all these spiritual people. And I knew it was going to happen where I was going to
Wow.
be in a safe environment. I was going to be with my best friend.
Mm-hmm.
So that did happen. And I did use that blanket later that day when I heard the news mum passed away, to cover my best friend who was cold. We were lying under some
Oh,
trees,
wow.
just reminiscing about my mum, allowing
Yeah.
me the opportunity to take in that, what's
Yeah.
just been said to me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Absolutely. And the thing is too, because I would love to, I'll let you, I would love for you, if you don't mind, to send me a photo of that, because I want to show our viewers as well. But I would then also, I will love to see what the plant medicine prayer was on that, because I'm not sure if we're talking the same one, but the one obviously that you've seen of us, we've all got those what we call squiggly lines, because people aren't
Yeah.
aware that they're Icaros, so they're prayers. So
Okay.
I would love to know exactly what plant it is that you have, because I know that we speak about the plants, the medicine plants of ayahuasca, and Lord and behold, if it is that, it'll be like, well, there's your next one. You know what I mean?
Weird. Yeah.
There it is. But you know what I mean? So I would love to know that. But again, but what I want to do is, so what made you write the book? I mean, you've gone through this journey with your mum. I have as well. I didn't sit down, I didn't blog, I didn't feel the need to write about my story or anything. So what made you think, you know what, this is what I need to do?
Well, I think it kind of came to me. Um, I guess I started writing poetry the time Mum got diagnosed with terminal illness. For some reason, I was actually friends with an artist, and she also wrote poetry. And I remember hearing the news, and I thought to myself, how can I express how I'm feeling without burdening people around me with the grief I was already
Mm,
feeling? I'm that kind of person, never want to burden anybody else, but at the same time, I needed to release that energy. So I started writing poetry, and I realized I had a love for words and just constructing words together. And, so that's where my writing kind of started. But my youngest daughter told me that, and the eldest, they remember me years ago saying, I would always love to write a book. I don't
mm.
remember that, Grace. I don't remember ever
Wow,
saying that.
that's
And so
amazing.
it's incredible. And that writing poetry then kind of led to other work I was doing, just with other spiritual modalities. I had to write, prayers of invocation, or, a prayer. And I started writing these beautiful prayers, but using like the old style language. And I thought, this is so beautiful. And then I just thought, well, how can I release this even further? I felt that I had so much grief still. And so I started writing just about my journey, because I thought, well, I need to get it out of me, and I would love to share it with others who are
Mm,
grieving. And I wondered if others felt the same, because no one talks about this stuff. No one talks about,
that's
how
exactly
they kind
right.
of say, well, so and so passed away. People ask me in the hallway, how are you going? I share little bits, but not too much, because you don't know how much a person wants to hear. So you're always tiptoeing around stuff. So I thought, you
Mm,
know what? I'm just going to release exactly how I felt. And I
Absolutely.
don't care what happens. I'm just putting it out there.
And that is so good because, like you said, it's something that's people are afraid to even hear the word cancer. It's such a word that years ago, the word cancer meant my star sign. I'm a Cancerian. Oh, you're a
Yeah.
Cancerian.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But yet there's so much attached to the word cancer that's why I say, okay, in both our cases, our mothers did die of it. They went through it. They had, they were prolonged. The initially, like my mum as well, she had 5 years before it came back, things like that. But what I noticed is when you're not educated, and neither, my mum wasn't educated on it as
Neither
such.
was mine.
Yeah, they tend to believe, well, that's my end, and that's why you said people don't talk about it. That's why I wanted to sort of mention that, because people get afraid. No, talk about it, dissect it, that it's so small. You have power over the word. I'm
Yeah.
not here to say just heal yourself with that. No, you got to heal yourself the way you want to, but
Yeah.
over the power of the word cancer. And I was afraid too, the word, don't talk to me about breast cancer, don't talk to me about cancer. But then I realized, hang on, I'm giving power to the words. And that's what I
Yeah,
wanted to touch
absolutely.
on. Yeah. But
Absolutely. And I love that because I part of my journey was learning a lot about ancient Egyptians, and they always said, there's so much power in words. Hence why,
Mhm,
words can cut someone, they can destroy people, so
absolutely.
we have built as a society this stigma around this word that, like you said, as soon as my mother heard those two words, terminal and cancer, that was it.
Game
She shut
over.
off from
Yeah.
everything, everything.
Absolutely. And that's what I talk about a lot, because which is great, because my doctor now also, Dr. Chantal Thornton also says people come in asking me, am I going to die? And she's like, I don't know. You can get hit by a bus as soon as you walk out. And I thought that is excellent. Thank you, because
Yeah,
she may know the outcome of that
yeah,
person's, diagnosis, but she doesn't put a contract on their life. And I thought,
yeah,
yes, because I
yeah,
realized the moment you tell someone certain words, 6 months to live, 3 months to live, 2 months to live, a week to live, a year to whatever it is. I have probably spoken to so many families that have had someone pass away and they go, oh, yeah, they said he had 12 months and yeah, 11 and a half months later he died. Or, oh, yeah, 12 and a half months later he died. And I'm like, hang on a minute. That can't be a
yeah.
coincidence. It's the power of the words.
Oh, of
Um,
course it is.
yeah. So, but what's your favorite memory of writing this book? What do you love most about writing
Okay.
this book?
Okay. What I loved the most about writing the book, it really is such a therapeutic way, I guess, to heal yourself. I had to sit there and be really raw with my emotions.
Mm,
And the greatest gift that I was able to give myself and to my daughters was being able to read each chapter as I completed it with them. I also shared it with my best friend, Mariam, and, so sharing that with them and just having their, oh my gosh, and we didn't know you felt that way. We didn't know
mm,
you were going through that. You never said anything. No, of course I was going to say to you the depths of my despair,
mm.
because I wanted to save people from that. But really, just what I discovered as well, Grace, speaking about the power of words, it's interesting. When I was writing, so when I was typing away, I would cry as I remembered things and, just reading the power of the words and the honesty that I put there. But when I had to read it out aloud, oh man, I just cried so much. And
Absolutely.
the shaking of my voice and the emotion. And that's when I knew, well, this is written from my heart. And it truly was. I had no idea how to write a book. No one ever told me. I did learn a little course on how to do it, but ultimately, I just had to express what was in my heart. And I just thought that's the best I can do. So,
Wow, and that's the thing too, because we know someone very well that always says your mess is your message. And
yes,
reading the book myself, I love reading these books, especially about people, autobiographies. I don't know how many I have of those. And this here was because and the thing is, the moment I was reading your book, every time, every couple of whoa, I kept, wow, like, wow, because I can see you went through the darkness. You went through, okay, now I've got the darkness. What do I need to take a step to? Where does that lead me? What do I need to do now? And so forth. And the thing is, it was your message, the whole, and I get goosebumps. It was your message throughout. And this is why I highly recommend this book, because although it wasn't, and that's a thing too that I want the listeners to realize, although it wasn't to you, it happened to you through a family member. So it's also knowing what is the best way. I guess, because we'll wrap it up soon, because I know you got to get going. But, what was the thing too, like, because what I want to see is your point of view. So I want our listeners to know from a family's point of view, and we both can discuss it as well, I guess, because we both had a family member. But someone who's got cancer is seeing it from this side. Someone who's from the family is seeing it from the other side. So what would you think are some tools or some words or some resources or anything that people who have family members who are, whether it's going through breast cancer, terminal cancer, endometrial cancer, whatever type of cancer it is, what could be something you can give them to tell them what they could try and use to help them as well?
Well, initially, when I first learned of my mother's terminal diagnosis, I had no idea how to cope with this. So the first thing I did was went onto the cancer website, and I'm sure every country's got their own support groups through there. They had some wonderful pamphlets and information for family members how to best support someone going through terminal cancer or cancer in general. So that's the first thing I did. I then went and I was desperate, and really I was trying to be resourceful myself, because I had no one I could go to for help in this instance. So I then went on to Audible, and I just found some audio books on how to deal with terminal cancer and just things like that. But I guess what I learned was, initially when Mum got diagnosed, we were trying to encourage her to get out of that mindset of that's it. She's just given up on anything.
Beautiful.
We wanted her to pick up. We wanted her to not just to kind of give her an extension of life. We knew what the diagnosis was, but it was a difference of, was it was going to be 3 months to 6 months, but her mindset shut down. And that was really frustrating to watch. And it was very hurtful, because you just wanted to shake them. But what I learned is that you have to hold compassion for the person that has been diagnosed. It is their journey, and you just need to love them and just support them and ask them what they need, rather than try and tell them what to do, because we don't know. I don't know, if I ever heard those two words, terminal, cancer, I don't know how I'm going to be. I'm thinking I've got probably tools that my mother didn't have that I could probably use, but you still just don't know. So love, just to hold compassion, unconditional love, and just be there for them. And what I try to do around my mum is always just try to smile or hold her hand, and those little things, A lot of the times we couldn't say much because we didn't know what to say.
And that's a great point, just that last bit, because what happens is a lot of women reaching out, or I'm reading, is oh, I've got a friend who keeps telling me to stay strong, be strong, you got this, and I actually wrote exactly what I did. It was like, well, I need to let me take a grip on this myself.
Yeah.
And it's not because the person doesn't love you. It's because the person doesn't know what else they can do to help you. So I always say to people, if someone's pushing you to stay strong, don't take it personally. They don't know how you're feeling, but you know what I mean? And what, it's better than going, well, there's no hope for you here.
You're right, Grace, because what else do you say? I was standing there looking at my mother deteriorate on a palliative care bed, and when I even said to her that day, don't be afraid, I felt like an idiot, because I was the one I was petrified. But I didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
And yet she was comforting me by saying that she's okay. And I was just like, and so it's really, you're right. I think everyone, whether you're the person that's been diagnosed or you're the family or a loved one, we all try our best with the resources we have. And if it comes out the wrong way or gets frustrating for anyone, just remember the good intentions are there by the people that love you and that you love. So
Absolutely. And, and I want to ask, because as I said, when I finished reading the book, I was a little bit disappointed, to be honest, because I thought, well, where's another book? So where can I get another book? I was like,
actually,
oh, did she just, it's beautifully ended to the listeners, but I've just felt like this is a beautiful path that someone is going through. And I thought, well, where do I get another one now? So my question to you is, so when do you think you'll be writing another book? And
well, I'd love to write another book. And I was actually thinking about that book, my first book, because like I said to you, I wrote it from the heart, truly wanting to heal myself and my daughters. And then it got published anyway. And I didn't think too much about that whole process. But I would love to write another book, because certainly from the time I ended that book to what's happened over the course of the last couple of years, there's just so much growth and change. And what I thought I knew so much, I learned so much on my journey after Mum passed away. Boy, have I learned much more. It blows my mind. And I say to people, and another thing about spiritualism I kind of found on my journey is some people would judge you that, oh, you've only been on a spiritual path a year. What do you know? And it's kind of like, what? I said, well, let me tell you, this is what I've experienced. And it doesn't even matter, because for me, it's
yeah,
my journey. It's not a
absolutely.
comparison. It's
No.
truly, everyone has access to the magic of life, and it's not a a show off thing. It is purely for you. Enjoy it, share it, remind people the magic is there, and for them just to tap into themselves to find that.
Mm. And I'm so glad you said that, because I want these people on their own hero's journey to realize that it's not just about healing the body.
Mm,
It's about
yeah,
healing the mind, the soul, the spirit. And I always mention those, and a lot of people, like I said, a lot of people, because they're not, oh, how could you possibly have something spiritual happen to you, within a year? Well, I know people who just miss being killed in a car accident, and they've had a spiritual journey. So
yeah. It's
everyone's
interesting. I
different.
found that kind of disappointing, that some people, when you do share what you've gone through, and hence why I'm generally reluctant to share my experiences with anyone. I published it in the book because I thought, well, the people who are going to want to read are going to read it. But in general conversation, I tend to hold back, because I've found people get resentful, like kind of, wow, well, how could that just happen to you? Like everyone's trying to search for their own miracle, but it depends on what you look at as a miracle. For me, every day waking
Absolutely.
up and taking a breath is a miracle. You know what I
Fantastic.
mean? Yeah.
Absolutely. And I agree. And that's the thing. That's why, honestly, I just found so much good benefits. I mean, I've got so many sticky notes that I haven't gone through, because I found so many benefits, because I was looking at it from so many point of views,
Mm,
and like you said, this is you going through it, but there's the common denominator in all of
yeah,
us. And like you
yeah,
said, you can, if you tell someone, if someone is not ready, we call them not ready. They're
correct.
souls that aren't ready. So
Yeah,
when they're not ready, they're going to shut everything down. They're going to go, oh, I don't care what you say. But it's this book allows people to really see that, hang on a minute. Oh, yes, this is true, people. This is
you're
reality.
right. Because Grace, I was one of those people, and I say it in my book, is that, for over 20 years, my sister's been on the spiritual path, and I used to hate it. I used to complain to my mum, saying, what is wrong with her? What is she talking about, Archangel Michael? Where the hell is her head? What drugs is she taking? There is no such thing of angels, and her head's in the clouds. But and I felt sorry for her. So after Mum, and that caused a wedge between our relationship, and we're only 1 year apart. But after Mum passed away, and Mum asked me before she passed away, please get close to your sister. And I thought, well, there's no chance of that. But believe it or not, yes, there was, because I realized that I was putting the wedge there by judging her on the path she was on. Yet she says to me, because I apologized to her for judging her on all her spiritual things that she used to share, to the point she stopped sharing them with her family and kind of distanced herself, and she felt alone. And she said, Nell, don't worry, don't apologize, because you weren't ready.
Yeah,
And I
there you
said, no, I
go.
wasn't. And she's right. If people aren't ready, then, certainly don't force it, and they don't have to read it. They don't have to hear it. And just respect that. Not because for me, over 40 years, that was me. But then,
Yeah.
like you say, as soon as if the timing is right for you, if it is right in this lifetime, then you have evidence there of the magic, and it's wonderful.
Absolutely. And I love that, because even that was another thing that was very similar, because my mum actually said to my father, uh, you better keep Grace close, because she will leave. She would distance
Yeah.
herself from the
Yeah.
family. And it's not because I was on a spiritual journey, because I wasn't just yet, but I believe it for me, it was because I could start seeing I was changing. Because for me,
Yeah.
when I talk spiritual journey, my husband became a Buddha. I wish he became a
He may
Buddhist.
be. Who knows?
Well, actually, he is a Buddha. We're all a Buddha, but he
Yeah.
became a Buddhist. So I started looking into other ways, like, different ways of seeing things. So that's where I started to change. And like you said, when you're not ready, and my sisters weren't ready to see the change. So even now they can accept me. Oh yeah, Grace is doing that stuff. Oh, okay, that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
But it was quite interesting how you said that. I really love that. Because like you said, you've got to be on it yourself. It doesn't matter who's been on
Yeah.
it for ages. And that's what we say. You're not ready yet. Because there's so many
Yeah.
people, you and I will probably sit here. I'm sure people that you go, that person could do with
But you, you
something.
do. You do. And the weird, the funniest part for me is that when I published the book and I shared it with people around me, because I held back and I didn't tell anyone I was writing a book, except for my best friend and obviously partner and a couple of other people. When I published it, and then I had my boss come up to me at my work and saying, I'd love to have a copy of the book. And I thought, oh crap, I've written truly about me. And there was part of me, even before I published the book, thought, oh my gosh, if I put my truth out there, so my darkest moments and also the spiritual experiences that I had, which some people might think, oh my God, she's just loony. I thought, wow, what's going to happen? And I just thought, I don't really care, because this is what happened to me. So it's my truth. What are you going to say? So I handed
Absolutely.
him the book, and, I thought, oh gosh, she's going to think she's managing the team and making executive decisions. But, ultimately they know who I am, and I
Yeah.
play many roles. And I think that's one thing I learned, is that it's okay to have different aspects of yourself and bring those forward in different situations, and still be authentic to who you are.
Absolutely. And I agree 10,000% with that, because the thing is, a lot of people feel that, if you're one way, or you believe one way, you can't possibly,
Yeah,
you
how
know,
could you?
oh,
Yeah.
you can't do that. And yet, and I just actually spoke about it just recently, where we change in life due to different circumstances. But, you
Yeah.
know, one thing in one of my podcasts that I just put out is who am I, or who am I, and who could I be?
Yeah.
It was because, and when I was actually recalling that, I was thinking, hang on a minute, I was someone who was always at service with people. I was in corporate world, but I was always making sure
Yeah.
that people were serviced correctly. Then I started doing wedding flowers, and I started doing other things, and it's because I wanted people to feel good.
Yeah.
And then I
Yeah.
realized, hang on a minute, I'm here to help. It wasn't about the problem. Why do
No,
I
you're
fix
right.
the solution? But I thought, if you look at like yourself, if you look at my history, I went from corporate world, what I call corporate world,
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
banking industry, to construction, to selling crystals and helping women just being diagnosed. And it's like, hang on a minute, that was a big change. No, like you said, you find the tools along the way.
Yes. Yep. Agree.
And
And you do. And I've changed all the ways I do things even now. Like I bought all the crystals, and there's certain crystals I really resonate with, and I always carry with me or wear. And yeah, is that carnelian?
it is,
Because
honey.
I bought carnelian, a necklace on the weekend, because I love
Yeah,
carnelian.
yeah.
But, so, and I remember even just having crystals on my desk, and,
Mhm.
people come up to, oh, what's that? Oh, it's a crystal. What's it do? Oh,
Yeah.
well, it does this, this, and that. And they're looking at me like, wow, she's a bit nuts.
She's a bit, she's losing it.
But you know what I found is because in the workplace I am who I am, they can only respect you because it's not like
Absolutely.
I'm making decisions and I've got that persona, but ultimately the values and things around myself are still the same, whether if I'm Nella at home, Nella in the workplace, Nella here or there. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm just going to ask you some final questions, just
Yeah, go
more
for it.
personal. So what is your favorite word and why?
Okay, my favorite word, and I've discovered this with one of the workshops you and I both attended and met, is the word curious. I love the word curious because it's almost like seeing the world in a childlike eyes, being curious about your environment, being curious about your journey. So I just really love that. And I even apply it in conversation at work, for example. If I need to ask someone else a question and it might be kind of a heated discussion and you need to ask something, it's always nice to say, you know what, I'm really curious. Do you mind if I ask you this question? Opposed to asking them the question and then they feel like, oh, what's going on
Yes.
here? And it just drops the barriers. And for me, it gives me the authority, I guess, to be inquisitive. So hence why I love that word, just being curious.
Yeah. And I think mine is the word in my hallucination.
Yeah,
I
my
use
hallucination. I love
I
that.
use that one a lot. I use that in my hallucination. In other words, what I
Yeah,
think.
what I think. Yeah, yeah.
um, so we've all got some good stuff that we can do, but what are you not good at?
I guess when I was looking at this question, I thought about it and I thought there's so much I'm probably not good at, but
I'm not good at making
I'm not going to
pastries.
beat myself up about that. But what I found is not what I wasn't good at. I'm getting better at was probably just before COVID hit and around the time I was writing the book, I started really resenting humanity as a generalization. So everybody, I kind of felt that everyone really annoyed me. I just felt that people's behaviors on the road, the rudeness, the disconnection, everyone, and I just even social media started frustrating me. Even watching
Yeah.
documentaries, it was on the National Geographic about the planet and it's in disarray, the destruction, everything. And I felt like I was carrying the burden of the world on my shoulders and chest. So I retreated from everybody because I thought I don't want to be around people. I don't want to see anybody. So apart from going to work, I even was reluctant to catch up with friends because I just felt
Mm.
I'm happy to live by myself forever now. It's just going to be me and the universe. But then then COVID hit and I kind of realized, and then I went to the event that we attended,
Yeah.
and I realized that, you know what, I need connection and love, and that's really what we're all here for.
Absolutely.
And so now I find the joy in connecting with others, and it's a priority in my life is how can I connect better? How can I connect with these people? How can I make an effort to connect? So I'm getting better at that. And yes, I also realize that while there are certain behaviors and destruction going on in this planet, I can't carry that because I can't control that. But what I can control is me and my footprint and my
Mhm.
legacy. So I'm
Beautiful.
not the perfect human being or steward of the planet, but I'm making the small changes to make it better each and every day as best as I can with what I have. So yeah.
Absolutely. That you couldn't have put it better, honestly. You just
Oh,
the
thank
better
you.
version of yourself every day. That's how I see it. So, if you could have a superpower, what would it be?
The superpower would be just really to light up people's hearts so people can open up their hearts truly and have that unconditional love for each other opposed to we have all these conditions and judgments and
Yeah.
expectations and it causes so much pain. And I just think if you could remove all of those barriers, yeah, certainly we'll go through challenges, but there'll be much more acceptance for each other.
Beautiful. And on that note, I thank you again. The book Seeker of the Light, you must. It's a must book. Like I said, I'm going to have the link in the podcast. I thank you again for your time. I appreciate what you're doing. And I know that you've got so much more that you can give to others. And I'm sure no matter what you decide to do in your life and what path it takes, I'm sure I'll find out about it and I'll be
You will.
there, eagering you on and hey, yay. So is there anything you want to say just before we wrap up?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Grace, for inviting me to this podcast. I truly feel privileged to, firstly, to have met you and Rodolfo, and then secondly, to be part of this. And if I can share anything that could potentially help anybody, then I'm more than happy to do that.
Okay, you take care.
Okay.
All
Okay,
right.
thanks,
Much
Grace.
love.
See you later. Bye bye. Much love.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.